Good morning. Okay, we need to do a lot to wake them up. So, so when I was asked what session I'd like to moderate, by my colleague who's put this together, unfortunately she's not been able to come here because of a problem with the family. I chose this one because I found it very, very exciting. And to be honest, I felt it was the easiest of sessions to kind of do. We are not talking really about tech, we are talking about the human aspect, and you're going to be hearing about tech all day. So this is something different. And Prashant and Aditya, someone has cheated on the timer. We were given 40 minutes. It's already at 24 minutes. I work for Businessworld, so I'll try and use my cloud to extend it. And I promise you, when it goes to zero, it's not like the timer in speed where the bus is supposed to blow up. So, thank you for being here. What we are discussing today is how do you foster a culture of innovation? How do you get buy-ins from different teams? I had a little chat with my colleagues here. I've spent a lifetime in tech media, and I've been with Businessworld for a little more than half a decade. I thought resistance was something, technology was the past, especially, at least now post-COVID. So, everything's tech-driven, but, they were kind of talking about how there's resistance. We're going to talk about leadership styles, innovation, how do these people ensure everyone is aligned to the same cause to meet objectives. Before we start, I'd like them to, give a quick 1-minute introduction of themselves. And, what are your, so your name and title is behind, but what are the challenges that you are working with right now? So, when you're responding to questions, the audience knows where you're coming from. So, Amit, may we start with you?
Hello, everyone. My name is Amit Narula, and I'm the CTO for AceCloud. We are a sovereign cloud provider in India, and we provide public cloud services akin to AWS for startups and small and medium businesses. And we are providing these services both in India and in US. Some of the challenges are we are building top-notch services so that we can map up to the hyperscalers, and that's where some of the challenges lies for our technology team, because we are still in that evolution stage, and that's where we are looking to evolve.
I am Pawan, one of the co-founders of Shorthills AI, and we started as a proper AI company 7 years ago, buying our own GPUs, trying to build our own models, and then currently we work with large enterprises, and we try to build very specific AI solutions for them which can actually work at scale. And my biggest challenge is to keep up with the ever-changing AI environment. So whatever was new and latest 2 months ago is now decidedly old. So that's how we keep on innovating, keep on trying to understand what's happening, what's changing, and that's where we are really working hard.
So I'm Saurabh, I'm the group CIO for PDAs. Now I have a very different kind of a problem statement, because I come from a company which is basically into fashion apparel supply chain, and now into a lot of other things as well, other categories. So here it's a business which is about 25 years old, but only now they've picked up digital transformation. So it's a huge resistance towards change, which is basically I'm trying to feed to people who are not hungry at all. So that's where I'm trying to work towards, and I'm trying to provide them solutions, get them aligned to the solutions, get them involved into it, and that is where the biggest problem statement has been for me.
Good. So we'll start with you, and I'll read off the script. How has your leadership style evolved to keep pace with the rapid technology changes and the expectations of today's tech-driven workforce?
So in fact, I would just like to build upon what I was just saying. More from being a directive guy, now I've become more collaborative and entrepreneurial. I've been telling stories to people about why the solution is good for them. It's about getting them involved. So I've changed from to that. It's about co-creation now for me. And if I'm developing a solution, I have to go out to a lot of our business heads, verticals, their vendors who are working within their teams, and then develop the solution with them. For example, in our company, we created a solution for vendor collaboration. It's called Weave, which is kind of acronym for web-enabled application for vendor engagement. I could have done it from my own understanding of the system, and we could have architected it the way we wanted to do it. But we actually went to the vendors across countries, which we have about 30 plus countries. We went to the business heads. Again, we have a country offices in about 30 countries. We took their inputs. They became co-creators to the tool. So now they are lapping it up. They are using it. They can see efficiencies with the tool, and that is the leadership style has changed for me. Earlier, it was more about do this, develop this, and deliver it.
So what you're saying is ownership right from the concept stage.
Absolutely.
By showing them advantages and then hand-holding them to make it happen.
Absolutely. I think that was the best way to get them involved in the process. Otherwise, it was always a pushback.
Yes. So much more collaborative CIO.
More collaborative. We are co-creating now.
Wonderful. Actually, technology is being driven by all functions that I see. So, but in your case, they were still kind of resisting
yes, because they are consumers. They are people who are been trading apparel for last 25 years, but they are not people who want to adopt technology to develop those apparel supply chains, collaborate with the vendors, do the design thinking around it. So that is what the evolvement is about.
Wonderful. Yeah. Thanks. Pawan, what do you see? Both of you, your perspectives will be a lot different, but you said you work with enterprises. So what do you see there?
When you say in terms of how we are operating in terms of leadership, that was the
the
question.
leadership style. How do you get the buy-in? How do you keep these people enabled?
Enterprises are a different game altogether, and because they already are working at a very large scale, they have lots of processes, and to get a buy-in from them, it's a very different ball game. So over there, because they have too much worry about data privacy, any wrong answer that can come out from the system, they have limitations about using hosted LLMs like OpenAI or Gemini. Their corporate policies don't allow that because they can't allow the data to be seen by these large models. So, but once we start demonstrating some use cases, and that's what we have to do eventually, and then we feel that they're able to change, but they're able to convert. Let me just maybe just take one step and go back to your earlier question and try to add 2 cents on that. See, what I feel and what we see is that historically so far, especially for IT sector and everywhere, people who were working, they were focused on the process. So we were never forced to think about how we are thinking deep inside. That was unconscious thinking. We would never really try to see or figure out how we're actually trying to solve. Now in terms of AI, when we're trying to get the work done through a model or through a system, for the first time, everybody is being forced to think about the thought itself, the whole process. And that is something we're not trained for that. So now, I think that kind of sense, that kind of culture, building that kind of habit, that is something which we are trying really to do with a lot of people. And that is one change that I see everywhere within our organization, even at large enterprises.
Amit.
So great insights from both of them, and just building on top of it, Hoshie, I think decade or two back, it was more of a command and control center kind of an approach. But right now, in the past decade, most of the organizations are moving towards a more agile-centric way of leadership, considering the fact that we are seeing technology disruptions sooner rather than later. Every 6 months, there is a new thing that is coming in. So having a very focused, agile, and primarily servant leadership has become a little bit cliched, but I would say it's still very foundational in terms of how we are dealing with people. Not thinking that you are the smartest person in the room, even though you may have the most experience. Working with Gen Zs, millennials, I think we have to embrace their energy. Just sharing an example, we went to campus hiring last year, and then the kind of talent that we saw, their vibrant thoughts, their energy, we were able to deliver solutions much faster with them than with people who have been in the system for, let's say, more than 5 years. So that is where I feel having a very open thought focus, embracing people irrespective of hierarchy and their experience, and understanding that you are not the smartest person in the room, helps getting everyone on the same page. And then eventually it comes out to the fact that we have to share the outcomes, we need to have a common purpose and vision. So that's where I believe styles have evolved a lot. Earlier, you can just go down, build some consensus, and tell everyone what has to be done, and then it's a very monotonous and a robotic way of doing things. Now, I feel there is a lot of change, and then you have to iterate in a very prompt manner. So I think that has been the core leadership perspective that has come in the past couple of years.
So all three of you are saying a lot more collaborative as compared to leading. Amit, I have to kind of tell you, I liked when you compared Gen Z to 5 years experience, and you said more than. I actually thought you were going to say more than 20 years experience, but it just shows how this space has shifted. When he's talking of a 5 years experienced person, I think all of us know that. As a really experienced person, I stay with you, Amit, and we'll come back this way, because you brought about some points that are leading into the second question. Is what are some practical ways to foster a culture of innovation and creativity within high-tech performance teams, high-performance tech teams, especially now considering that you've got a fresher and you've got 5 years experience. How do you manage all of this?
So one thing is that we should not constrict any ideas. It has to be an absolutely transparent and open conversation with everyone. Don't shun people off. That's where the fact that we should be disregarding experiences, we should be disregarding hierarchy, and let ideas come in from all nook and corner of the organization. That's where the middle management again plays a key role. So for enabling a culture of innovation, and we are at the cusp of it. Just imagine that being a sovereign Indian cloud provider, we are building services with much lesser funding than what hyperscalers like Google, Microsoft and Amazon might have. We are still trying to hit to those levels. So that is where innovation becomes paramount for the success, for the business of the organization, and that is what the industry is also demanding, something which both the panelists were also pertaining to. So what we have done is, from an innovation perspective, we have given them a very clear setup. The first factor is that you need to have the right set of tools that should be enabled for the teams. If you don't have right set of tools, it becomes very hard for them to iterate and then experiment. The second is that there should be freedom for them to operate at every level and drive those outcomes for when it comes to innovation. And third thing, failure has been a very ephemeral word earlier, but it's now embraced more clearly within the organization ethos and the corporates. So we should not be shying away from those failures. And that's where you continue to build upon it. You may not have the perfect product, but eventually you land up to that. So that's where I think we have had success building innovative services within our organization.
So Amit, I have a follow-up question, and you spoke about, obviously there is a hierarchy, and there could be, in my understanding and experience, some levels of insecurity in the middle management. How do you ensure that all your ducks are in a row? And that insecurity could lead to blocking of ideas. He's smiling, blocking of ideas, whatever. So you really don't know who the star is. How do you ensure that openness across the system, and that there is no sense of insecurity in a middle manager?
So for an organization of our size, it becomes a little easier to manage. I think this is more of a bigger challenge and problem in enterprises. The first thing is that the leader has to have connect at all levels on the ground. That is one. Second is, when it comes to change, the change should be driven by the top management, and then the value derivation has to be very clear. Eventually you may face some resistance, but don't just try to push some of those people onto the edge. Eventually they would be on board. So you may not have all your ducks in line at the first go, and don't aim for that also. I think it might take one iteration or two iteration, and when people start seeing the value, when people start seeing the velocity of the outcomes, they eventually come in line. I think that has been a factor, and it was the case with AI. Getting developers adopt AI tools initially was a big challenge. They were all like, don't expect to us to adopt this. But now they are seeing, and now they are kind of acclimatized to this fact that yes, AI is going to be a big enabler for them. So we took like 4 months to kind of come to this stage. So that's where I think success comes eventually, and aim for iteration in terms of how we are doing things. Don't aim for perfection at the word go.
I think all the tech companies are doing hackathon, knowledge sharing sessions, and trying to use AI in all walks of life. We did something slightly different. We filed 2 patents in the US in AI last year. And when that is one part. The second part is there were some freshers, first SD1. They're also part of those teams, and their names also got into those patents. Now, these are actual patents filed in the US, which are in AI. Of course, they might not remain relevant 2 years down the line. By that time, something new will come. But now this single thing, has really charged up everybody, because they can see the kind of work we are doing, and more importantly, everybody knows that they can be a part of that, and they would have something which they can really cherish for life. I think that was one thing which we did differently. Of course, since we were trying to build models with PhDs and GPUs since the beginning, this was something which, of course, we always wanted to do. But having everybody, onto those projects and getting the names of few people, not everybody, of course, will get a name on the patent. But that has really charged up the entire thing. And of course, we are doing the usual, things like hackathon or knowledge sharing sessions, and we are publishing whatever they are, building. So that's what we have done.
That's an. You'll also be able to retain better. Then your retention level also goes up.
To answer both the questions you just asked, in terms of how we can ensure that our tech teams are also well aligned, because I acquired a very small tech team. We are not a tech company, but we are consumers of tech. So the idea was somewhere to, one, of course, make sure that we give opportunity for people to fail fast, fail small, rather than fail at a larger scale. So we do a quick runs, quick checks, idea hackathons. We do it over a weekend or towards a Friday. Half-baked ideas are good enough to understand and figure out what people are doing. Give them cultural exposure as well as cross-functional exposure, because our industry is very niche. So we try to do that as well. And thirdly, it's about trust, trust over surveillance, because if I'm trusting my guys, I'm building that culture, then the ducks fall in line. And I can give you an example. I had a guy who worked out of Delhi and he was having issues, but he comes from Dehradun. He moved there, his productivity went up twice, and I allowed him to work remotely. So there was trust, and that really helped us. I think it's about setting up the right culture as well. And if the middle management is insecure about it, it's the leadership above them who needs to ensure that you need to get the right, probably a guy 10 times smarter than you, but we'll take care of you. Otherwise, if the strategy goes wrong, strategy eats culture for breakfast. It's as simple as that.
So I just want to add to what Pawan was mentioning. So we did conducted this hackathon very recently in January. And there was one service which was to provide enhanced monitoring to our customers who were using our platform. So the time that my team gave me to build that service was 4 months. And we were able to build that service, not maybe 100% to perfection, but at least a workable model within like 10 hours on a Monday. So that is the velocity you can get when you are having some of these energized minds sitting together and working for a common goal. So that's the kind of velocity we were able to attain. So that's how I think when you foster culture of innovation, it breeds amazing business outcomes for you also.
And I second that. I've seen that in my company as well, this moving really in that zone where people are, when they feel involved, right, just being a support service and a firefighter, they become innovators, trying to define the global supply chain for us. They're really coming up with good ideas. That's why we are doing faster and better things in the last 2 years, which we did not do in 23 years.
Wonderful. Pawan, we'll start with you now. Some part of this question has been answered, but let's see if we are missing anything. What are the top leadership qualities needed today to attract talent and inspire top tech talent, especially in different working formats? Some people are on site, some people are remote, some people are hybrid.
So I think when it comes to hybrid or remote working, those who are working remote or hybrid, at least they need to somewhere understand that nothing can beat or match in-person communication. I mean, and that's something which they need to understand. If there are standalone tasks which need a status update, okay, they can do that. But if you're trying to decipher what is happening in AI, things are changing almost every day, and you have to talk to people and see what is working, what is not. So I think being in the same room, and as you said, in 10 hours they can solve some problems. I think that is something which people need to understand and realize. In traditional way of working in IT, where your job was to create a button which would just click and work, that worked okay to some extent. Not great, but it worked. In AI, you want a summary of a document, unless until you really show it to the people around, you won't even know whether it is working or not. So I think that becomes a challenge over here. So at least in our company, the idea is let's get into a room, let's thrash it out, and let's try to see what is happening everywhere else. I think that is one way we are trying to go about it.
So you're all for on-site working?
Hybrid, not fully. So when you want your own time to think deep about a problem, then definitely office is a distraction to that extent. It is.
Okay. Amit, leadership qualities, if you want to add to his points, you're most welcome. But then, what are the leadership qualities to attract talent and improve productivity, keep people engaged?
So we are primarily a technology-centric organization, and within our organization, see, every organization will have its own challenges, and then we have to look at through that lens. Startups, mid-size organizations will have different dilemmas when it comes to retaining talent. Enterprises will have a different set of quotient. For us, what has worked really well is that we work on cutting edge technology, and our core focus is engineering excellence. And we have had experience hiring top-notch talent from the campuses for the past 3 years. And what is working well is the kind of work and the learning opportunities that we are providing to them. There is no hierarchical structure when it comes to growth. It all depends on your contribution. It all depends on how you are building products up. The second thing, which is really pivotal in terms of retaining top talent, is that they are looking for guidance and more technical leadership from your perspective, from your side. If you are able to foster that culture, if you are able to provide them with that environment wherein they can learn things, they can implement things, I think you can still have a decent longevity within your organization. Enterprises will have all sorts of bells and whistles when it comes to retaining talent. They can provide you with hybrid work from home options. They can provide you with a lot of other things. But for an organization of our size, I think the kind of massive learning opportunity that we provide with, and then one challenge is that there is a lot of bureaucratic structure that gets built in within large organizations. So over here, we have cut that flat. So we take decisions very promptly. We don't have to wait for different time zones to wait for decisions to be made. We get on the floor, you see the energy, you discuss it out, you brainstorm things, and then you decide on what has to be done. So for us, that has been a key factor when it comes to retaining talent. Otherwise, people start getting distracted when they are not getting that kind of a purpose-driven thought and what they are supposed to do, and how is it contributing, how is their work contributing to the larger picture. So with us, they can clearly see that, look, this is the service we are developing, this is going on to the platform, and this is how it is helping customers and generating revenue. So that is something which has been working amazingly well for us. And then hybrid, fully remote, all those are strategies definitely organizations adopt. We can get into the merits and demerits of each of them, but I think when it comes to retaining talent, whether whatever opportunity you may provide for people to operate from anywhere, but these are factors which will instill a sense of ownership and will ensure that people stay longer with you.
Yeah, so I think I already touched upon one point, which is about trusting them over surveillance. If you are ensuring that right trust, I have seen the impact of that and people doubling up in their productivity. It's also about respecting the individuality of person. I run a very small team in terms of my tech developers. So if I understand where they are coming from, it really helps me maintain them, and there's been no attrition, touch wood. And also, if I think about it, it's also about recognition beyond rewards. It's not always giving them rewards in forms of monetary rewards and others, but if somebody has done a really good job with a tool which has brought in a lot of strategic inputs or benefits to me, promoting him for that will make a better case for me rather than just pushing them away for with some kind of money or monetary reward. So those kind of things have really worked for us, and the team is also pretty much aligned. I keep telling them, if we are trying to drive digital transformation, so we all should be as comfortable with EBITDA and ESG as we are with APIs and SLAs. It's as simple as that. So they align to it. Yeah.
Okay, I can see the thing that says time up, and I can see people standing on a right to evict us, but we'll try one quick last question. How do you see the role of tech leaders, and all of you, and we'll start with you, and quick response please, tech founders going forward in this continuously tech-driven business, technology changing, things been changing, seems cliche for a very long time. But how do you see the role changing? We spoke about collaboration, but one would like to hear from you all that, how should, or if your advice to tech leaders and tech founders was, how do you be successful and carry the whole organization around? What would be your
I think I just answered that in my last point, which is, a tech leader typically is not only just a tech provider anymore. They should be the strategic digital transformation guys. So they should be as comfortable with EBITDA and ESG and tech for good, tech for innovation, discussed by Mr. Karnik and everyone earlier. Should be talking about that. And that's about it.
so business partner?
Yes, absolutely.
Pawan.
I think I'll use two analogies here. The first one is from Andy Grove, only the paranoid survive. So now given, things are changing at such a fast pace, tech founders, leaders have to be somewhat paranoid, okay? If I'm going to bet all in and, just bet my life on this technology for 3 months, you don't know where it will go. So that is, I think, one thing which I see how tech leaders, everybody has to think. And a second, I think, is the analogy with, that movie 300. So 300 well-trained Spartans, well-smart guys, they're much more powerful with the help of AI than a Persian army of, 100,000. I think that's the mindset that's going to change.
Amit.
So for me, I think it's really important that we embrace the change, and we should be there with our team. There is no way, people should be focusing on activities and just trying to understand, keeping their team busy. Focus on what the outcomes are and what kind of value do you want to derive from your people. I think that's where leadership is evolving extensively. And then I think we should also have the ability to maneuver through these, when we have clear water ahead of us, I think it becomes really easy. But when we don't have a road ahead, I think that's where true leadership style comes in. And then we should evolve to that. We should not be, we should be fine taking that up.
Thank you. I'm going to sum up very quickly. I grew up in the tech media space, and like I mentioned, I've been here for about half a decade, working across different verticals, communities, and it was good moderating this panel. But I must tell you, growing up, there's one thing that I kind of would keep hearing, and those of you who've been in technology for 15, 20 years would have heard CIO to the boardroom. Okay, that was a much spoken about topic. Did not see it really happening a lot, and haven't seen it, but right now I think the environment and the markets are pushing for, there are more technology-led businesses. So I see that becoming a reality finally, and more collaboration, EBITDA that you said, ESG that you said. So good luck to the tech community. I'm sure it will happen. Thank you. You guys have been a wonderful audience. I don't think we put anyone to sleep. So thank you very much.